Hey everybody, how's it going? This is John Breed and it is March 9th, 2020. It is Monday afternoon on the show and Phoenix is in the books. Cup and Xfinity action were on track this weekend. Joey Logano, for the second time in 2020, got the checkered flag. He won yesterday at Phoenix in an overtime finish. He held off Kevin Harvick for the win. It was Logano's 25th career Cup Series victory and his second win at the Ism Raceway. So Logano was the winner. It was a pretty good race. Lots of fun action. Lots of great restarts. Some drama late in the race. And Logano was able to hold the field off at the end of the race. So his second win, as I mentioned, and it was a very good day overall for Penske, besides Ryan Blaney, who wrecked out early in the race. It was a three-car incident at about lap 65, and it was like a lap or so after a restart, I believe, and it was Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Blaney all involved. And they went into turn 3, the old turn 1. I'm still getting confused about that ISM track now, but it's the old turn 1, now turn 3. And Denny Hamlin was kind of in the middle of the track. Brad was up top, and they went into turn 3, and it looked like Brad turned down the track a little bit when Hamlin kind of drifted up a bit. And they came together, and Ryan Blaney was right behind him, and he got collected. And that ended Ryan Blaney's day. Denny Hamlin continued on in the race, but had some pretty significant damage. Ended up being a lap down. Didn't really recover from it. And Brad Keselowski was able to recover from that wreck and almost win. I mean, he had one of the best cars in the entire race. He ended up winning the second stage, and he looked really good there. And I thought for most of that race that Brad was going to have a shot to win, and unfortunately for him, it didn't happen. But he had a very good run, and his teammate Joey Logano won. So I'll go ahead and just go through kind of a recap here. So the first stage was dominated mainly by Chase Elliott. He led every single lap up until the first caution, which was for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. crashing into the wall. And that was around lap 58. And there was about 17 laps left in the stage. And they came on to pit road, and Kevin Harvick beat Chase Elliott off of pit road, and he was able to hold him off for the stage win. And that wreck with Keselowski and Hamlin, that was also there in that first stage. That was the second caution of the race. And so, yeah, Kevin Harvick looked good early on, to no surprise. He is a 9-time winner at Phoenix. It looked like he was definitely going to be in contention for win number 10 at Phoenix. And if I can find the stage results here. The computer's running very slow today. I have no idea why. It's taking forever to load. But anyway, so Kevin Harvick, sorry about that. Kevin Harvick won the first stage as mentioned, and Chase Elliott was close behind in second. So Chase looked very good early on, and I know on Friday I had picked Ryan Blaney to win the race. And I was definitely still sticking with Blaney because I thought he was going to have a pretty good chance of winning until obviously he got caught up in that wreck. But there at the beginning I was like, Chase is obviously going to have a very good shot at winning. He was fastest in one of the practice sessions. He was second in the other one. He won the pole. And I thought he was going to be a pretty major contender all day, and he in fact was. Not exactly the day I was expecting from him, though. I figured he would have more of a dominating day and either perhaps win or barely come up short. And it wasn't exactly a dominating day for Chase Elliott, but it was nonetheless a solid day. And of course, he had trouble with that loose wheel in the second stage, which I'm about to get to. So the second stage, Chase Elliott was leading, and Brad Keselowski, I don't know exactly where he came from to get up to the lead. Like, I don't know what spot he was in after that wreck, but I assume it was in the back. And he came up through the pack and got to the lead and ended up winning the second stage. So Brad coming back from that wreck, sometimes when you wreck, if it's only, minor or little damage, on a track like Phoenix or any other short track, Phoenix isn't actually considered a short track, but it obviously races like one. But, a wreck can sometimes help you. And I can't say that wreck helped Brad, but perhaps it did. But regardless, it did not hinder Brad Keselowski in this race because he was very strong all day. And he ended up leading a total, if I can find him here in the results, he ended up finishing 11th. He led 82 laps, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But there were some different strategies going on there late in the race, so it looks like that's why Brad ended back up in 11th. Joey Logano, of course, passed him late for the win, but the third stage had a series of cautions. One of them included Tyler Reddick, and Tyler Reddick was one of the biggest stories of the race because Tyler Reddick had a very strong day, all day long, up inside the top 10, top 5, at one point in the race. On one of the restarts, he had gotten up to second place, and he was just very strong all day. And he had gotten up to second, and then like a lap later, he kind of drove it into turn 3 a little too hard, and he lost a number of spots. He fell back to like 8th or 9th, which he described as a rookie mistake, which is obviously fair. But he had appeared to be a right front go down and ended up not finishing the race, which very unfortunate because, as I mentioned, Tyler Reddick was strong all day long, and it just did not pay off well. But there's definitely a lot to be happy about with Tyler Reddick because he had, as I mentioned, a very strong day. And he was looking like he was going to get, a top 10 for certain, maybe even a top 5. And another big story was Cole Custer. Cole Custer, I think, was around like 16th or 17th most of the afternoon, and he ended up finishing 9th. He snuck into 9th place and was the highest finishing rookie. And so back to the end of the race. So Brad Keselowski was leading there late in the going. He, Kevin Harvick, and Joey Logano were pretty much led the majority of that final stage. Chase Elliott, who was recovering from a loose wheel, went a lap down after he had that loose wheel, but ended up coming back from that and racing his way back to a 7th place finish. So a lot of different pit strategies were going on and a series of restarts. One of them was, one of the incidents also was Martin Truex Jr. And Martin Truex Jr., it's been a tough 2020 so far for MTJ. On one of the restarts, it was like a lap or two after, he went down into turn 1, and he got hit by Almirola and got up into the fence, and he was not too happy with Eric Almirola about that incident. And, if you watch it, it definitely looked like Almirola got into him, but, to me, these restarts were so crazy that, you can't exactly blame him. You obviously can, but, to me, the restarts were just so insane that unless it was so blatant that he tried to take him out, to me, it was just a racing deal. But, yeah, Martin Truex Jr., believe it or not, has not finished in the top 10 in 2020 yet. It's been 4 races, and he's still looking for a top 10 finish. But nonetheless, though, I think the Joe Gibbs cars, they definitely still have speed. I mean, Martin Truex was solid all day long. Kyle Busch, he hung around at about, fourth or fifth place most of the day. Ended up finishing third. And, if you're a fan of the Toyotas, I would still not worry just yet, because I think once they get it figured out, they're definitely going to be back up there to where they were last year. Well, maybe not back up to where they were last year, but they're definitely going to be strong nonetheless. I mean, really, when I look at these first four races, the guys to beat this year are not Joe Gibbs, it's Team Penske. And Logano has won 2 races now, and Ryan Blaney has, except for this race, was in position to win the other 3 races in 2020. And Brad Keselowski, same deal. He had yesterday at Phoenix, he was in position to win, and just didn't quite get the job done, but he looked very strong. So Penske definitely showing a lot of strength. Hendrick Motorsports as well. I would say right now they're the second best team. I mean, Alex Bowman with the win at California, and lots of strong runs for them yesterday. Chase Elliott coming back from that loose wheel. Bowman was up there in the top 10 at some points in the race. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy actually for the most part of the race was outside the top 10. He actually finished 12th, but there were points where he was up inside the top 10. And William Byron a top 10 as well. And so the end of the race, Joey Logano is out front, and on the overtime finish, there's a crash late with Ricky Stenhouse and John Hunter Nemechek. And Joey Logano pulled away from Kevin Harvick. Harvick got close to him at one point, but just couldn't quite get to him there on that overtime restart, and Joey Logano won. So, as I mentioned, Joey Logano's second win of 2020. Very good race. It was a very good race. It was a fun race to watch. Lots of drama late in the going. Lots of great restarts. In fact, Joey Logano, I don't even know how he won this race, because one of the restarts, they went down into turn 1, and Logano looked like he was trying to block Bowman, and he came across his nose and almost pile drove into the inside wall. I mean, it was very close. He made a great save. And, very good race. And, obviously this is going to be the championship track this year. And, I was very pleased. I really liked what I saw, and NASCAR was as well. So it'll be interesting when we get down there in November, and I think it's safe to say Joey Logano could very well be one of those 4 drivers that is battling for the championship at season's end. So that is my Cup review. Joey Logano was the winner. I head to Atlanta next week. The Xfinity race was on Saturday, and Kyle Busch was in fact in the field, and I think everybody was expecting Kyle Busch to just run roughshod on all these guys in the Xfinity Series and dominate, win the race. That was not the case. Brandon Jones got his second career Xfinity Series win on Saturday. He passed Kyle Busch late in the race with about 24 laps to go, and he just drove away from Kyle after he passed him. And Kyle had struggled with his car throughout the day, and it was not the Kyle Busch we usually see in the Xfinity Series. And, there were points where Justin Allgaier led. Justin Allgaier won the first stage, and Noah Gragson won the stage 2 over Ross Chastain, passed him on the last lap. And there were points when Chastain was leading, obviously, and Noah Gragson, of course, as well, looked very strong. But Kyle Busch, he still did manage to lead the most laps. He led 78 of 200 laps, but his car was not as strong. And he got out front with, I think it was about 50 laps to go. He had found his way back to the front. He had run back at about 4th, 5th, and 6th was really when I saw him most of the race. And, he got up there, and Brandon Jones just out of nowhere. I had no idea where he came from, but he found his way to the front. And he hadn't really been a factor all race along. I mean, stage 1 he was 10th place, stage 2 he was 7th, and just came out of nowhere, passed Kyle Busch and won. And Harrison Burton also passed Kyle Busch there in those last couple of laps. Harrison Burton finished 2nd. He was 1st last week in California for his first Xfinity Series win. And he was 2nd on Saturday. And I can't say enough about Harrison Burton. I mean, the guy is looking very strong. And going into 2020, I thought, he's going to have a pretty good year. I figured he would get his first career win, maybe 2 wins. But this guy's looking like a contender for the championship. I mean, I know we're only 4 races in here, but he's looking very, very strong. And, man, how about Brandon Jones? I mean, this guy has improved greatly over the past year and a half or so. And, last year, I definitely saw improvements in the guy. He was running a lot better. Then middle of the year of last year, he kind of, fell off a bit. And then by the end of the year, he had gotten his first win at Kansas, and he improved again. And the start of this year, I mean, man, 4 races in, he's already got a win. He's looking very strong as well. And so Joe Gibbs did, in fact, finish 1, 2, 3. It was Brandon Jones, Harrison Burton, Kyle Busch. Brad Keselowski ran on Saturday. He was 4th. He actually was involved in an incident late in the race with Daniel Hemrick. They had went into, my goodness, turn 1. I keep thinking it's turn 3, but it's turn 1 because, of course, the start-finish line is moved. But anyway, they went into turn 1, and Hemrick kind of got loose underneath Keselowski and came down the track, collided with Ray Black Jr., and there were like 4 others involved. It was kind of almost an accordion effect. I mean, Hemrick came down, hit one car, and then he bounced off the other car, and yeah, there were a couple of close calls in that race as well. I think it was, I forget who it was, but if I would look here, Colby Howard in the 15 car. He had some sort of issue down the back straightaway, and he was very slow going down the backstretch, and everybody's just trying to avoid him. And Riley Herbst didn't look like he was at full speed, but he was just getting out of the gas and just barely avoided colliding into the back of Colby Howard. Is a huge near miss. And I just thought, man, there were a lot of close calls. And then, of course, that wreck with Daniel Hemrick was not a close call because they ended up wrecking. But unfortunate for Daniel Hemrick. I mean, this redemption year for Hemrick, it is not going well so far. 4 races in and another DNF for the guy. So don't know what else to say. Hopefully he can figure something out. But yeah, that was pretty much the story of the race, that Kyle Busch was not able to win and Brandon Jones was able to get by late in the race. So that's the Xfinity race. Brandon Jones won. And this weekend we do have Atlanta. It is the Xfinity truck doubleheader on Saturday. So that's going to be great. As well as the Cup race on Sunday. And so it should be very exciting. And Chase Elliott is in fact in the truck race. He'll be trying to go after that Kyle Busch bounty for $100,000. We'll see if he gets the win down there in his home track. All right, that's it, everybody. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at NASCAR Images. Follow me at John Breeden9, also on Instagram. That's my other Instagram account. Twitter at John_R_Breeden. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. And that is it. I'll talk to you later.